So welcome everybody to this latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be looking at some exam questions relating to solving algebraic fractions. Now there will be a copy of the questions that I go over in the description below for you to download and have a go at before watching this video and listening to me going through how to answer them. So let's crack on with these questions. So with question 1, it says solve x over 4 minus 2x over x plus 2 equals 1, and we want to give our solutions to 2 decimal places. Now in terms of this would appear on a calculator paper only because obviously we want x to 2 decimal places. But with practice, when you spot that x equals 2 decimal places, this is basically indication that we're going to end up with a quadratic equation, and we're going to need to use the quadratic formula in order to solve it. Now before we even head towards that, what we then need to do is to solve this equation. Now here we've got x over 4 minus 2x over x plus 2, and I'm just going to put that in brackets, equals 1. Now your aim with this is to try and get a single fraction. So what we need to do is we need to combine the two denominators together. Now here our common denominator will always tend to be the two denominators multiplied together. So here our common denominator in this case is going to be 4x plus 2 in brackets like so. Now in order to get that common denominator, I need to multiply the first bracket by the second denominator, and I need to multiply the second bracket by the denominator in the first one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this by x plus 2, x plus 2, and in this second fraction I'm going to multiply that by 4 over 4. So from this what we then get is, so the next step is going to be x plus 2 over 4x plus 2 minus, and then it's going to be 8 2x over 4x plus 2, and again let's not forget that equals 1. So now I've got a common denominator, I can join the two numerators together. So here I've got x plus 2 minus 8x all over 4x plus 2 equals 1. Now again, there's a couple of things we can do here. Now I'm going to take the denominator over to the other side. So what I end up with is x plus 2 minus 8x equals 1 times 4x plus 2. Now what I'm going to do is just get rid of that bracket. And so all I've done there is just multiplied them out. Now here 1 plus 4 just gives me 4, and if I expand the left hand side I get x squared plus 2x minus 8x equals 1 times 4 is 4, and so then this all becomes 4. So then 4 times x is 4x plus 4 times 2, which is 8. So now you can see how my quadratic equation is forming. I'm now going to take that the right hand side all over to the side, because you want to try and keep x squared positive, and I end up with x squared minus, and if I just neaten this out I'll have minus 6x. Well, let's just neaten that out first, and then I don't know where I've got 18 from, so let me just change that to 8, and then I take this all over to that side. I end up with x squared, and it's going to be minus 10x minus 8 equals 0. Now from this what I then need to do is, if I just move over here where I've got one more space, and let's just write out the question, is I need to use the quadratic formula. So using the quadratic formula I get a equals 1, b equals minus 10, and c equals minus 8, and all I now want to do is just substitute that in, or just show that I'm substituting in. So in terms of, for the purpose of working this out, so I've got minus 10 squared minus, and I always put in brackets the 4ac, so 4 times 1 times minus 8, and all divided by 2 times 1. Now from this I wouldn't go straight for your calculator, I would actually simplify this out first, but again if you're quite happy in using your calculator, that's fine. But here I've got a minus, and a minus becomes a plus, so that's 10, plus minus the square root of minus 10 squared, which is 100, minus 4 times 1, which is 4, times minus 8 is minus 32, so that then becomes plus 32, all over 2 times 1, which is 2. Now from this I can then simplify this as being 10 plus or minus the square root of 132 all divided by 2. Now for this I need to give my solutions, and it's plural solutions, so I'm going to end up with 2. So this is now what I'm going to type into my calculator, and you can see how that's a lot easier to type in than all of this. So here my x values to 2 decimal places, and if I get the calculator out, let's just start by typing it in. So I've got fraction 10 plus or minus, we'll go for the minus first, so let's delete that, minus square root of 132 all divided by 2, 2 equals, and it gives me an answer of minus 7.4, so minus 0.74. And then my second solution is, if I just scroll and change that minus to a plus and press equals, and it's going to be 10.74, so it's 10.74, and there are my 2 solutions to 2 decimal places. Now moving on to question 2. So again, very similar, but this time again this could appear on non-calculator because there's no definition of 2 decimal places. So again, what we want to do here is to try and get a common denominator. Now here our common denominator, don't know what I'm writing here, so let's just get rid of that. So our common denom is going to be x minus 2 x plus 3. So what I need to do is I need to multiply this fraction by x plus 3 over x plus 3, and I'm going to multiply this fraction here by x minus 2 over x minus 2. And again, it's worth just using brackets. So doing that calculation, what my next line is going to look like, it's going to look like 6 and then x plus 3 all over x minus 2 x plus 3 minus 2 lots of x minus 2 over x plus 3 x minus 2, and that all equals 1. So again, now that my common denominators, I can then join these 2 fractions up. So I end up with 6x plus 3 minus 2 lots of x minus 2 all divided by x minus 2 x plus 3, and that again all equals 1. Let me just sort that there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to the right hand side. So what I then end up with, and if I just move it over here, then this then becomes 6x plus 18. Let me just sort that 18 out. 18 minus 2x plus 4, and that equals 1 times x minus 2 x plus 3. So if I neaten all this up, I get 4x plus 22 equals, and if I expand the right hand side, I get x squared plus x minus 6. And then I'm going to take all of this over to this side, so what I end up with is x squared plus minus 3x rather, minus 3x, and then minus 28 equals 0. And then I can factorize, so x and then 2 numbers that multiply together give me 28, add together give me 7, or subtracted, and that's going to be 7 and 4. And because we end up with minus x, that's going to be minus 7 plus 4, and that gives me a solution of minus 4 or positive 4, and there is my final answer. Moving on to question 3, and again let me just make this a little bit easier for us to see. So that there is a plus, and this is also a plus. So again here I need to try and get a common denominator. Now my common denom is, in this case, is going to be x minus 2 x plus 3. So I need to multiply this first fraction by x plus 3, and I multiply this second fraction by x minus 2. So doing that, I end up with 4 and then x plus 3 over x minus 2 x plus 3 plus, and then 1 lot of x minus 2 over x minus 2 x plus 3, and again this time it equals 5. So now that my common denominators are the same, I can just join them up. So I end up with 4x plus 3, and when I say join them up, I mean my numerators, plus 1x minus 2, all divided by x minus 2x plus 3, and that equals 5. So now what I'm going to do is going to take that denominator over to the other side. So what I end up with is 4x plus 3 plus 1 lot of x minus 2, and that equals 5x minus 2x plus 3. Now just expanding the bracket, so let's start off with the left hand side. So I end up with 4x plus 12 plus x minus 2. Let's get rid of that bracket there. Equals, now I'm going to take my time with the left hand, leave the 5, and I'm just going to expand the bracket. So I get x squared plus x minus 6. And then if I deal with the 5, I end up with 5x squared plus 5x minus 30. And that all equals, and simplifying this, end up with 5x plus 10. Then taking this over to this side, and I end up with 5x squared. The 5x and the 5x cancel, and then I then end up with minus 40 equals 0. And then this is what I then need to go on to solve. So from this, I've then got that 5x squared equals 40, divide by 5 and end up with x squared equals 8. So x equals the square root of 8. So x equals minus root 8 or positive root 8. Now again, if you've done surds, you can convert these into surds. So x equals minus 2 root 2 or positive 2 root 2. Now if you wanted to give your answers as a decimal, if it did appear on the calculator paper, let's just quickly work that out. So I've got minus root 8 equals, and as a decimal gives me minus 2.83, so x equals minus 2.83, or it's going to be positive 2.83, and that's to 2 decimal places. So whichever of those 2 answers or 3 answers is required, you can either give either or. So moving on to question 4, and I'm just going to make it a little bit more accessible. And again, let me just go over to make sure that you're happy with how the question says. That's x over 4 plus 2 over x minus 1. And the question says, show that it simplifies to give us this. Now for part A, all we need to do is combine, have a common denominator. So our common denominator, so comdom, or comdenom I should say, is going to be x minus 1. So for this, what I need to do is multiply this first fraction by x minus 1, and then multiply the second fraction by x. So what I end up with is 4x minus 1 over x minus 1 plus 2 lots of x over x minus 1. And then if I join the numerators together, I get 4x minus 1 plus 2x all over x minus 1, which then becomes 4. Oh, that's even worse. There we go. And that, expanding the brackets on the top, then gives me 4x minus 4 plus 2x all over x plus x minus 1, or x minus 1. And then the numerator then simplifies to give me 6x minus 4 over x minus 1. And there I've showed what it simplifies to. Now for B, this then involves a solving an algebraic fraction, but also I recognise that it's asking me to give my solutions to 3 sig fig, which means that when I end up with my quadratic, don't waste time trying to factorise. It's not going to factorise, just go straight into the quadratic formula. So let's see if I can try and fit this in all into one go. Now we know that this, now one thing that we can do is we know that this equals this. So rather than writing 4 over x plus 2 over x minus 1, instead what I can do is I can say that 6x minus 4 over x minus 1 equals 3, because this bit here I've showed in part A equals the other bit. Now it doesn't, you don't have to recognize, but it does say hence or otherwise. So again, you could just do what we did before, but I'm going to use this. So what I end up with is, moving on to the next step, is end up with 6x minus 4 equals 3. And then if I take the x minus 1 over to the other side, I end up with this. Then if I then expand the right hand side, so I end up with 3x squared minus 3x, then take all of this over to the other side and end up with 3x squared minus 9x plus 4 equals 0. Then using the quad formula, where a equals 3, b equals minus 9, and c equals 4, what I end up with is plus 9 plus or minus 81, and then it's minus 4 times 3 times 4 all over 6. And then if I neaten that all up, and let me just quickly work out what 12 times 4 is 81. So I've got 9 plus or minus square root of 81 minus 48, all divided by 6. And this is then what you want to type into your calculator. If you want to simplify 81 minus 48, that's fine. What you get, 33. But again, I'm just going to stick in a calculator while I waste my time doing that. So I've got 9 minus the root of 81 minus 48, all divided by 6. Give me my first answer. And the reason why it's plus 9 at the front is because minus 9 gives me plus 9. Press equals, press the SD. So my first answer to 3 significant figures is 0.54. And let me just double check to make sure the 4 doesn't round up. No, it doesn't. And then if I just change that minus into a plus, equals, and I end up with 2.46. And they're both to 3 significant figures. And there's my final answer for that one. Moving on to question 5, it says solve the equation of 6 over x plus 3 plus 1 over 2x plus 5 equals 3. So again here, my common denom in this case is going to be x plus 3, 2x plus 5. So to get that denominator, I need to multiply the first fraction by 2x plus 5 over x plus 3, 2x plus 5, plus, and then multiply the second fraction by x plus 3. So I've got one lot of x plus 3 over x plus 3, 2x plus 5, and that all equals 3. So again, combining the numerators together, I get 6 2x plus 5 plus 1x plus 3, and that's all over x plus 3, 2x plus 5, and that all equals 3. So then just taking all of the denominator over to the other side, end up with 6 2x plus 5 plus 1x plus 3 equals 3, x plus 3, 2x plus 5. Now from this, what we then need to do is just simplify. So I'm going to end up with 12x plus 30 plus x plus 3. So that's the left hand side expanded. Then with the other side, well, I've got x plus 3 squared, well, x plus 3 times 2x plus 5 is going to be 2x squared plus 5x plus 6x plus 15, giving me 2x squared plus 11x plus 15. So what then I've then got is 3 lots of that. And then simplifying the left hand side, end up with 13x plus 33 equals 6x squared plus 33x plus 45. Then if I take the left hand side over to the side to try and keep my x squared positive, I end up with 6x squared, and then I'm going to end up with 33x, take away 13x gives me 20x, and 33 take away from 45 gives me 12 equals 0. Then from this, now as one thing I do notice is that the coefficients are all multiples of 2. So what I can do, even though I know that I've got to use the quadratic formula because it says that I need to do some rounding, to make my life a little bit easier, I can simplify this algebraic expression. but it's not essential. So here, if I wasn't going to expand it, then A would equal 6, B would equal 20, and C would equal positive 12. Now, if I did go on to simplify, and I recognize that they're all the coefficients I've got a factor of 2, then this would be 3x squared plus 10x plus 6 equals 0. So then that would give me an A value of 3, a B value of 10, and a C value of 6. And again, it doesn't really matter which one you prefer to go for, but either way, what it should give you an answer, if when you type it into your calculator and use the quadratic formula, you should end up with answers of that x equals, well, let's write it here, minus 0.78 or minus 2.55. So again, any of either these two values, let me just highlight it. So any of those or this one here should give you the same answers if you've done it correctly, obviously. So then moving on to question 6. So again, question 6, very, very similar in terms of the fact we've got two parts. So question 6 says solve x squared equals 36. Now, the most common incorrect answer is, now you can notice that it's worth 2 marks. I'm expecting 2 answers. So in here, it's recognizing that your answer for x equals minus 6 or positive 6. Now, if you want to write your answer like so, then that should be absolutely fine. Now, I'm not sure how this is connected to question B, if it even is, but let's have a look at solving this quadratic expression. So here, my common denominator is going to equal 6. Again, just multiplying the two denominators together. So to make that 6, I need to multiply this first fraction by 2 over 2. I need to multiply this second fraction by 3 over 3. So then what then happens is I get 2 and then x plus 1 over 6 plus, and then it's going to be 3 lots of y minus 2 over 6 equals 2. So then I can write this as a single fraction. So I've got 2x plus y plus 1 plus 3y minus 2 all over 6 equals 2. Now if I take the 6 over, what I end up with, and I'm going to make a little space. So here I end up with 2y plus 1 plus 3y minus 2 equals 12. And then expanding the brackets, I get 2y plus 2 plus 3y minus 6 equals 12. Combining them, 5y minus 4 equals 12. So 5y equals 8. No, it's going to be 16. So make that positive. And so y equals 16 over 5. And so you can write it 16 over 5, or as it doesn't simplify, you can write it as a mixed number, so it becomes 3 and a fifth, or you can write it as a decimal as 3.2, and that should be fine for you to get your final answer. Now moving on to question 7, which is looking at a contextual question, which does no really include that it involves algebraic fractions, but it says that the table shows information about 2 journeys. And here we've got the distance and we've got average speed. And it says the total time of the journey is 1 hour. And the question is asking us to find the value of x, and we're given that time equals distance divided by average speed. So in terms of this, what we need to do is to combine the two formulas together. So we know that time equals 1, so the total time equals the time of A plus the time of B. So to work out the time of A, that's going to be the distance, which is 15, divided by x, which is the average speed, plus the distance of B, which is 6, over x plus 4, and that equals the total time, which is equal to 1. Now that in itself will probably get you 1 mark, or a starting mark, and you can see where this is 7 marks. Now don't be too concerned about the kilometers per hour, because we're working out x and x refers to speed. That's the only units of what x is. But again, all we then need to do is this. Now looking at this and looking at what we've already done, our common denominator in this case is going to be x plus 4. So what I then need to do is multiply this first fraction by x plus 4 over x plus 4, and multiply this second fraction by x over x. So doing all of that, and let me just do this over here. So what I end up is with 15, and then it's going to be x plus 4 over x x plus 4 plus 6x over x plus 4, and that all equals 1. So combining the numerators, the denominators together, I get 15x plus 4 plus 6x all over x plus 4 equals 1. Now if I take that denominator over to the other side by multiplying by 1, then what I end up with is 15x plus 4 plus 6x equals x plus 4. Now obviously the 1's disappear because you're just multiplying by 1. Now expanding the left hand side, end up with 15x plus 60 plus 6x equals x squared plus 4x. So you can see how now it's slowly starting to turn into a quadratic equation. So this then becomes 21x plus 60 equals x squared plus 4. Then keeping the x squared positive, so I'll take all of that to the other side. So I end up with x squared minus 17x minus 60 equals 0. Now from this, what I can then do is factorize. So this then becomes, what does it become? And let me just see if I can do that. And it does factorize. So here I've got 20 and I've got 3 equals 0. So I'm going to end up with minus 20 plus 3. So the two possible answers are going to be x equals minus 3 or x equals 20. Now because obviously we're looking at x equals speed, that it can't equal this, can't be this, as this will give me a negative speed. So then the correct answer can only be 20, so that there is my final answer. Now again, if you didn't know how to factorize, you could use the formula, but again, it all depends on whether this question was from a non-calculator or a calculator paper, which I'll be honest, I've completely forgotten. So hopefully by going through these questions, you can see how the general thinking and general notation of what we include. Obviously, these questions are usually 5, 6, 7 marks, so it's really important you do show clear working out and try not to do too much in your head. If it's on a calculator paper, look out for the fact it says to 2 decimals or 3 significant figures, because that will give you an indication of whether the quadratic equation, which you should probably eventually get, will factorize, or if it doesn't factorize, so you're not just wasting time trying to think of 2 numbers that go inside your brackets. Now we'll put a copy of this sheet, hopefully you've done this sheet with me, but there is a copy of this worksheet in the description below should you wish to have a go at this again, or after watching this video and after a couple of days you may want to have a go at it as well.